picture this. It is Thursday, July 2nd, 2026.
Right. The absolute worst time to be on the road.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, the highways are already just absolute gridlock as you and everyone else tries to flee for the Independence Day weekend.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Seriously. And if you step outside in almost any part of the country right now, that summer heat is just pressing down. I mean, it is pushing the electrical grid to its absolute limits.
It really is. It's sweltering out there.
Exactly. And if you look at the day's technology news, the biggest story isn't like some magical new artificial intelligence breakthrough.
No, not at all.
Right. It is concrete, it's copper wire, it is literally electricity. And, you are joining us for this deep dive because you want to cut through all that holiday weekend noise.
Yeah, get past the distraction.
Exactly. You want to get to the core of what is actually driving the global engine right now.
And, to find that core, we're looking at a really highly specific snapshot of the world today. We're using the July 2nd edition of the Daily Tech Reader's 4 p.m. news brief.
The 4 p.m. edition.
Yeah, right. And on a quick skim, a news brief like this, it kind of just feels like a chaotic feed of unrelated events,
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. You've got market fluctuations, you've got diplomatic negotiations in the Middle East, state-level lawsuits, updates on space exploration.
Right, it feels like a total grab bag.
It does. But, when you actually synthesize these seemingly disparate data points, they form this highly detailed blueprint of a macroeconomy that is in the middle of a massive structural pivot.
Okay, let's unpack this because digging through the stories in this brief, there's one massive defining thesis shaping the back half of 2026.
Yeah, there really is.
We are witnessing the great transition of AI. Like, it is officially moving away from being this shiny, experimental science fiction toy, and it's becoming mundane.
Totally mundane.
It's becoming physical, everyday infrastructure. I mean, we are talking about technology that is now as foundational and, honestly, as subject to physical constraints as the asphalt on those packed highways we just talked about.
Or the power lines struggling in the summer heat, exactly.
Right.
The phrasing the brief uses to describe this enterprise technology cycle is that we're shifting from, quote, innovation toward execution.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's super telling. Because for the last few years, the entire tech industry was just mesmerized by what foundation models could do, like in a vacuum.
Right. It was all about the magic tricks.
Exactly. The metric of success was sheer scale. Trillions of parameters, these massive training runs, and models that just acted like really impressive parlor tricks.
Yeah.
But today, the brief notes a total inversion of that priority. Foundation models are now fiercely competing on efficiency.
Wait, really? Just efficiency?
Yeah. The market doesn't just care how smart the model is anymore. It cares about the cost of compute per token.
Okay, well, that makes sense when you look at the unit economics of actually running a business.
Right, absolutely.
Because, I mean, if you're just an individual user generating a funny poem or whatever, you don't care if that query costs a fraction of a cent or like a full 10 cents.
Yeah. No, it's pennies to you.
Exactly. But if you're a global logistics company, right,
Yeah.
and you're using an AI model to parse, 3 million complex shipping manifests every single day.
Oh, yeah, that adds up fast.
Right. That minor difference in compute efficiency will literally bankrupt you, or, it'll make you highly profitable. It kind of feels like the early days of the automobile.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a century ago, people were simply astounded that a metal box could move without a horse.
Oh, it was practically magic.
Yeah. Nobody asked about the miles per gallon back then. But today, we're done being amazed that the car drives.
Yeah, we expect it to drive.
Exactly. We want to know the maintenance costs, the fuel efficiency, and, whether it will predictably start in the dead of winter.
Yeah, and that transition from, miraculous to boring is exactly where the trillions of dollars of market cap actually live right now.
Boring is profitable.
Highly profitable. The novelty has totally evaporated, and it's been replaced by this ruthless demand for operational discipline. The brief actually highlights that enterprise buyers are heavily favoring operational reliability over experimental features.
Okay, so they just want it to work.
Exactly. They're evaluating AI investments entirely through the lens of measurable business outcomes, like reduced customer resolution times or optimized supply chains.
Right.
Take AI coding assistants, for example. 2 years ago, they were this controversial novelty.
Everyone was arguing about them.
Right. But today, the brief points out they are fundamentally reshaping software development. They're acting as just standard tooling integrated directly into continuous deployment pipelines.
Wow.
And it's the same for multimodal AI. Systems that seamlessly process text, audio, live video feeds, they aren't just for flashy demos anymore.
Right.
They're standard expectations for enterprise applications, like actively monitoring factory floors and managing inventory in real time.
But wait, if this technology is supposedly like fully matured infrastructure now, why are we seeing so much structural friction?
What do you mean by friction?
Well, the brief references that major talk story from exactly a month ago, June 1st, where Florida became the first state to sue OpenAI over ChatGPT safety failures.
Oh, right.
And I mean, just to be clear, we aren't taking a side on that lawsuit here. We're just reporting what the brief says. But if we're just laying down boring infrastructure, state governments shouldn't need to sue over safety, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Doesn't a lawsuit like that imply a complete mismatch between the speed of deployment and the speed of regulation? I mean, are we basically laying down the tracks while the train is already running at full speed?
What's fascinating here is how that actually proves the point about it being infrastructure.
Really? How so?
Well, you only see state-level infrastructure lawsuits when a technology is deeply embedded in the public sphere.
Oh, I see.
Right. You don't sue over a prototype sitting in a research lab. You sue when a bridge has a structural flaw or, a municipal water plant fails.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, the legal and regulatory frameworks are clashing with AI precisely because it has achieved the status of critical infrastructure.
The stakes are just so much higher now.
Exactly. The stakes of failure have moved from, a user getting a strange response on a consumer app to an enterprise system hallucinating a clause in a legal contract.
Oh, man.
Or a state agency automating a flawed public service.
Okay, so the friction is actually a lagging indicator of adoption. The dependency is higher, so the legal liability is suddenly this massive issue.
Exactly. And the market is aggressively reacting to that liability.
How so?
Well, the brief points out that AI governance platforms are maturing at an unprecedented rate. In the experimental phase, companies just wanted access to the models, right?
Right, just give me the shiny new toy.
Exactly. But in this execution phase, they are installing literal software circuit breakers.
Circuit breakers.
Yeah. These governance platforms sit between the AI and the company's data. They actively monitor for hallucinations, they enforce rate limits, and they make sure you're compliant with data privacy laws.
Wow, so it's a whole new layer of safety.
Totally. And furthermore, look at the capital expenditure data in the brief. Infrastructure spending is heavily outweighing consumer technology spending right now.
Wow.
Yeah, investors are no longer throwing endless venture capital at, just any startup with a clever generative AI demo. They are actively rewarding profitable companies and demanding measurable productivity gains.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because we always talk about the quote-unquote cloud.
Right, the magical cloud.
Yeah, as if it isn't actually in the sky, like it's just physical servers sitting in massive buildings.
Yep, lots of concrete and steel.
Exactly. But what this brief highlights is that the scale of the math required for this execution era is fundamentally changing physical reality.
It really is.
I mean, the energy density required for a rack of AI GPUs is an order of magnitude higher than standard cloud storage.
Oh, it's not even close.
Right. A traditional server rack might draw, what, 10 kilowatts of power?
Roughly, yeah.
But a modern AI cluster that can draw 50, 80, or well over 100 kilowatts per rack.
That's staggering.
We aren't just building data centers anymore. We are essentially building power plants that do math.
Yes. And this is actually the most critical tension in the July 2nd brief.
The energy draw.
Exactly. The massive build-out of AI data centers is driving a structural, long-term spike in electricity demand. And it is forcing utility planning across the country to just rapidly adapt.
Like we were saying at the beginning, right? The grid is already sweating.
Yeah, you set the scene perfectly earlier. The summer heat is pressing down on the electric grids during a huge holiday demand spike. Now layer the relentless 24/7 power draw of thousands of new enterprise AI workloads on top of that fragile aging grid.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is. The digital world is making physical demands that our current infrastructure was just never designed to handle.
Which is a profound bottleneck. Because, you can deploy a new software model in an afternoon. But you cannot physically build a new high-voltage transmission substation in an afternoon.
Not all.
It takes years of permitting, pouring concrete, laying down that copper wire. Are we basically building AI faster than we can actually power it?
Essentially, yes. Which is why the brief uses the specific word modernization to describe the overarching theme of 2026.
Modernization, okay.
Yeah. This digital hunger for power is spilling over into physical, heavy industries.
Like manufacturing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The brief notes that traditional industrial companies are seeing massive benefits from this modernization spending.
Because they're the ones building all this stuff.
Right. They're the ones manufacturing the HVAC systems to cool these massive data centers. They're building the high-voltage transformers. They're pouring the foundations.
Makes sense.
And it also points to domestic semiconductor investments remaining a massive strategic priority.
Oh, sure.
Because the logic is simple. You cannot execute enterprise AI without the specialized chips, and you cannot risk relying on a global supply chain that might just, snap during a geopolitical crisis.
And to power those chips, you have to look at the energy sector updates in the brief.
Right.
It notes that grid resilience is a major priority, and transmission infrastructure investment is rapidly accelerating.
Crucial right now.
But the most telling detail for me is the renewed policy attention on nuclear energy, alongside, steady investments in fusion energy.
Yeah, nuclear is having a huge moment.
Because solar and wind are vital, obviously, but they're intermittent. And an enterprise AI training run doesn't just gracefully pause because a cloud blocked the sun over a solar farm in Nevada,
No, it definitely does.
These workloads require baseload power. They need steady, unblinking, massive megawatts of electricity.
And the push for nuclear energy is inextricably tied to that need for reliable baseload generation.
Right.
Plus, battery storage deployment is also growing exponentially right now to help balance the intermittency of renewables, kind of smoothing out the peaks and valleys of generation.
Okay, yeah.
What we're witnessing here is the literal re-engineering of the physical world to support our digital ambitions.
But that brings up a glaring vulnerability, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, you cannot run a hyper-advanced data center or a cutting-edge semiconductor fab if the global ecosystem that delivers your raw materials and your energy gets disrupted.
Oh, absolutely.
The brief provides this really striking geopolitical backdrop to this whole technological race.
It's all connected.
It really is. For
Yeah.
instance, it highlights ongoing Middle East diplomacy supporting global energy stability. There is a specific reference to a highly read May 31st story about a tentative agreement between the U.S. and Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
Right, I remember reading that.
Yeah, and because of that diplomatic maneuvering, commercial shipping through that really critical choke point just remains uninterrupted.
And that uninterrupted shipping keeps global oil and liquid natural gas prices relatively stable.
Which fuels everything else.
Exactly. That energy stability fuels the physical economy, which in turn provides the massive capital required to build out the AI data centers. Every layer is completely dependent on the layer beneath it.
Oh.
But the global outlook in the brief presents this fascinating duality about where humanity actually is right now.
What kinds of duality?
Well, we're reaching for incredibly advanced futures, right? NASA is actively preparing for the Artemis missions, Mars exploration planning continues, and AI is accelerating literal cancer drug discovery by, analyzing protein structures at speeds humans never could.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But then, yet at the exact same time, we're so stubbornly tethered to old-world physical conflicts.
Yes, exactly.
Because while we're doing things that look like pure science fiction, the brief also notes that Ukraine and Russia are continuing long-range kinetic military operations.
Right.
And right here at home, federal authorities recently uncovered a 2,000-foot drug tunnel connecting Mexico to the U.S.
Yeah, that story was wild.
It is. I mean, we can process trillions of parameters to detect supply chain anomalies in milliseconds, yet physical logistics are still so grounded in analog reality that cartels are literally digging physical holes under borders.
It's a stark contrast.
It really proves that software can't just eat the world if the physical world decides to push back.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates the limits of the digital dream. Geopolitical uncertainty is forcing global supply chains to constantly reroute and adapt, and, that costs a lot of time and money.
Right.
The technological acceleration we're discussing does not exist in a vacuum. It exists on a planet with complex and often violent human realities.
So if we look at this as just one massive, deeply interconnected planetary engine,
Okay, I like that visual.
you have diplomats negotiating agreements in the Strait of Hormuz to keep energy markets stable.
Right.
That stability allows heavy industry to build transmission lines and nuclear facilities, which then power the massive AI data centers.
Yeah, layer by layer.
Exactly. And those data centers allow developers to use advanced AI coding assistants to optimize software, which eventually trickles all the way down to allow us to seamlessly stream the World Cup knockout games.
Which the brief mentions is dominating global attention right now, yeah.
Right. We get to watch those games without a single glitch on our screens, but the entire stack has to work flawlessly for that to happen.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, at the very center of that entire stack is the human worker.
The human element.
Yeah. For all the discussions about automation and AI agents, the brief is remarkably explicit on one point. It says, quote, "Human oversight remains essential to enterprise AI."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, despite the coding assistance and the automated multimodal systems moving into production, this technology is not replacing the human workforce wholesale.
That's a relief to hear, honestly.
Right. Instead, it is forcing a massive, unprecedented workforce modernization. The real competitive advantage for you listening to this right now is not merely having access to an AI tool.
Because everyone has access now.
Exactly. In the execution era, everyone has the tools.
Yeah, the brief points out that skills-based hiring is expanding rapidly, and AI literacy is now one of the fastest-growing workforce competencies out there.
Yes.
And that doesn't just mean, like, knowing how to type a prompt into a chat window.
No, not at all.
It means having the systems thinking required to actually integrate these tools into complex workflows.
The competitive advantage is continuous learning and adaptability.
Adaptability, yeah.
It's your ability to provide that essential human oversight, to catch the hallucinations that the software circuit breakers somehow miss, and to translate raw AI capabilities into measurable operational excellence for your business.
Right.
As the underlying technology cycle shifts from innovation to execution, the human beings operating that technology must shift their mindsets to execution as well.
That's a great point.
You have to move from asking, what can this do, to how does this make my process safer, faster, and more resilient?
Let's bring all of this together for you listening. As you navigate the gridlock and the heat of this July 4th weekend, the real story hidden inside the July 2, 2026 news brief isn't just about holiday travel logistics or, minor stock market fluctuations.
No, there's a much bigger narrative.
The defining truth of this moment is that the magic show is over and the real work has begun. We are firmly in the execution era.
Firmly.
Across software development, heavy manufacturing, global energy, and government regulation, the singular focus is on modernization. We are doing the incredibly expensive, incredibly physical, heavy lifting required to build the digital infrastructure, to secure the electrical capacity, and to train the skilled human workforce needed for the next decade.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you watch those power lines buzzing in the summer heat.
Okay, let's hear it.
We are rapidly turning artificial intelligence into foundational infrastructure. We're embedding it deeply into our supply chains, our financial systems, our daily operations.
Yeah.
We are beginning to treat it with the same invisible reliance that we treat our highways, our water pipes, and our electrical grids.
We just expect it to be there.
Exactly. But we already know what happens when physical grids are stressed to their breaking point. Right. What happens when this new, deeply embedded digital AI infrastructure faces its first major systemic overload? Are we genuinely prepared for the digital equivalent of a rolling blackout?
Wow. That is something to seriously consider, especially when you realize just how much of that global engine relies on the infrastructure running flawlessly.
Exactly.
Think about how your own industry is navigating this massive shift from experimentation to execution. And ask yourself how resilient your own systems really are when the physical world pushes back. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us, and we will catch you next time.